Good, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Waterstone Election 2020 podcast. I'm your host, editor of the daily blog, Martyn Bradbury, and with me in the studio is libertarian political commentator and stuff columnist, Damien Grant. And our special guest this week is the co-leader of the Maori Party, John Tamihere. Well, we are now 53 days away until the 2020 election. This week, Level 3 was extended. Judith Collins praised the Prime Minister. David Seymour warned our species was in danger. Winston was caught out helping his UK spin doctors get in and out of the South Pacific. And Chloe Swarbrick kept managing to outshine the entire rest of the Green Party. Damien, looking at the last week, do National Party strategists scream every time Donald Trump attacks New Zealand?
No, I don't think that has an impact. Are you saying that we sit there and somehow we react negatively to Trump's criticism?
Oh, I don't think people like it.
No, I think you're reading too much into it. It's only for hardcore political, groupies like us. People's opinions are baked in already, man.
John, looking at the last week, were you surprised at the fury journalist Michael Moore received for asking hard questions of the Ministry of Health?
Yeah, look, I think people are now starting to ask questions, the team of 5 million are allowed to ask a few questions now and then, right?
Yeah.
So I just think the narrative where we have to tune in at 1 p.m, 3 p.m, 5 p.m, whenever the Prime Minister wants to speak.
Yes.
I just think there's a counter-narrative building, right?
Yep.
And awakening for good reason. It's an election, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Let's review Labour's week then. John, was Jacinda's extension of Level 3 the right call?
It was a calculated call that fell in, this should happen, right?
Yep.
Here's our issue.
Yep.
If you're going to take the brutal, crude tool of lockdown as our only tool,
Yep.
well, we've got a hell of a ride over the next wee while till vaccinations arrive.
Right.
Which could be another 18 months. Now,
Yeah.
Here's my problem. This government is very slow at telling you who's been hurt by COVID.
Yep.
And as a consequence, leading into an election, it's pretty good at ensuring that subsidies run into the election.
Yep.
So, I'm not suggesting that this is all a predetermined smokescreen. What I am asking you to think about is that at least we've got the right to ask questions like, why is it that we all have to put masks on now when a couple of months ago the government said, the evidence is all patchy about whether masks work at all, right?
Yep.
It's because we've finally got some suppliers.
Right.
Only rich people, well-off people can afford masks.
But this is really interesting, right? So John Tamihere, who's from the left, is now starting to come out and say, and I'm maybe misquoting you, John, that you're starting to raise a concern about, hey, lockdowns are a really blunt tool. And I think we're starting to see a shift in opinion that these lockdowns are really expensive and possibly not sustainable. And I think that the government does have a problem because most of its other measures to control the virus, if it gets a breakdown, doesn't appear to be working, right? The track and trace and all the rest of it, they don't seem to have that stuff out there. And so initially it was just hardcore crazies like me and Matthew Hooton questioning the lockdown. Now it's left-wing crazies like John Tamihere who are questioning the lockdown.
Damien, 40,000 across the border and only a handful of breaches in context with the overseas casualty rate. Will voters forgive Jacinda?
Possibly not, actually, because you kind of almost take it for granted. And I'm not too sure that people will acknowledge the fact of the success. People will only focus on the failure, and that may be unfair to the government. But at the moment, we're in level 3 lockdown as a result of a quarantine failure. That may be unfair to the government, but I think people are going to focus on the one that get through, not the 40,000 that were stopped.
Let's review national. John, Judith Collins wants to force returning New Zealanders to have a pre-test before they can fly back to New Zealand. Is this a great idea or just political theatre?
I don't think it's political theatre at all. I think it's just pragmatic. If I wanted to strengthen my border, I'd ask all returning Kiwi to take a test. Wouldn't you? Like that's our first border is before you get on the plane.
If you go to South Africa, you need to have evidence you've got a yellow fever vaccine. I mean, this is not an unprecedented move.
Damien, the 200,000 older national voting women who have walked over to Jacinda, 200,000 of them, are they really going to return for Judith?
Not all of them, but some of them will.
Let's review the Greens. John, Martyn Davidson is running against you and Tamihere Mikado. Do you get a sense the Greens are safely over the 5% threshold this election? John?
He's gone.
John's gone. We'll have to move on. Chloe Swarbrick managed to overshine any actual Green Party campaigning this week. Is that a problem? Or
No.
is it helping them win Auckland Central?
It is not a problem for the Greens that they have an MP like Chloe Swarbrick getting out there and shining. You contrast that to, say, New Zealand First. Whereas, who's their second most prominent MP? Well, you know, he's just a disaster.
John, you back?
I'm here, brother.
Excellent. Look, Martyn Davidson is running against you and Tamihere Mikado. Do you get a sense the Greens are safely over the 5% threshold this election?
No doubt.
They're in. You think they're definitely in?
No doubt. I think the Greens are, no doubt. I'll tell you why.
Yep.
The right vote is splintering like it did in 2002.
Yes.
It went United Future. There is no United Future left.
Yep.
They rocked into Parliament with 9 votes. It went to New Zealand First.
Yep.
I don't think that's going to happen again. It went to ACT, and that's where it's going. See, the right vote is splitting.
Yes.
But is it though? I mean, some votes are leaking to ACT, but most of the right vote is actually leaking at the moment to Labour.
Well, I think you're being a bit premature. I think ACT, I think Green, I think those sort of third parties are going to do very well.
What about New Zealand First? What do you think? Are they over 5% or under?
Under.
Really?
Yeah, they're dead, man. They're dead.
The reason why is they're led by 2 uppity brown boys.
Yeah, you can't trust those uppity brown boys, I tell you.
It doesn't matter how much cash they pump out to all the white boys in Northland. We're going to vote for them.
Damien, this news story yesterday that Winston was in any way, shape or form helpful in allowing his UK spin doctors in and out of the South Pacific seems a tad questionable, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I think at this point the perception of New Zealand First has been a little bit shonky, is really baked into the cake.
Right.
So I don't think any New Zealand the 1 to 2% of Winston voters who are loyal to Winston at this point.
Yep.
Winston Peters could strangle a chicken on live television.
And still...
maybe
Right.
a kitten. He could
Right.
strangle a kitten.
Right.
And he would still be fine.
Let's review ACT. John, David Seymour compared New Zealand to a one-party state because Ashley Blomfield appeared in an advert for 1 second. Has the sudden rise in popularity caused David to become a bit of a dick?
No, the sudden rise has ensured that he will get over 5%.
Hold on. So you're...
That opposes the present narrative.
Hold on. Can we just come back? You're saying that David Seymour is only now becoming a bit of a dick.
Well, his dickness
So you're
seems
saying
to have been growing. He's a growing dick. He's a growing dick, Damien.
Okay.
He's been recognised now as smart dick. So the point is that he's doing very well at being the dick, right? So I think, like I said to you before, the national vote is splintering and he'll be a recipient of it.
Yeah, see, I actually disagree with that. I suspect that ACT's vote's going to tail back quite a bit because you're dealing with people who, ACT voters, who haven't voted ACT for a decade. So in exactly the same way as I think some of Jacinda's voters are soft and will come back, they get to the polling booth, I think ACT will probably come in at about 4%, which will still be a great result.
So New Zealand is on, Damien, New Zealand is on par with North Korea, the People's Republic of China and Vietnam, because Saint Ash was in a government video. Isn't this the sort of thing that a 1% party bitches about? Not a strapping 5%.
No, stop it. You're being silly. It was political hyperbole and rhetoric. People understand it's political hyperbole and rhetoric. Don't get overly excited, Bob.
John, let's talk Maori Party. The Maori Party saw racist graffiti on their billboards last week, while the new Conservative Party's Maori policies would see a race war erupt. How far away is New Zealand from living up to the promise of the treaty?
Oh, probably about my grandchildren. My grandchildren might be able to use on some equality. But,
Give me a break.
at the moment, white is right.
Yes.
Oh, what? What?
You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
We have embedded structural, economic, problems in Māori society. Until we get a change to that, we ain't ever going to change. And here's the thing, there will be a rising up against that.
Amen. Amen.
I think we've had enough of this, fella. We'll
Final word. Damien, predictions for the week ahead?
Why do you ask me for predictions? Just so you can laugh at how badly
they're usually pretty bad. Well, you didn't do too bad. What's going to happen this week?
I think that Judith is going to have a good week. I think we are going to start to see, coming off a low base, I think people are going to start to take a second look at Judith Collins. Mm-hmm. Judith Collins is not liked.
Very much so.
But if Judith Collins can emanate an air of competence, she may well get National back up to 30%.
May, if she's lucky. John, predictions for the week ahead?
I think, I don't know what Damien's been smoking, but I think the referendum for cannabis has already arrived at his house.
John, I want to.
Yes.
I want to.
If Judith can get National above 34%, right, I'll smoke what he's smoking.
Fair. Well, there we go. That's a
we-
promise being made here live on air.
That's okay. All right, John. How are you feeling about Tamaki Makaurau?
Oh, look, it's not about Tamihere Makaurau, it's about Mother Teresa with a money printing machine, and it's a very difficult proposition.
Are you talking about Adrian Orr at this point?
No, I'm talking about Mother Teresa, I'm talking about Auntie Jacinda.
Because I think that I think you're going to pull off Tamaki Makaurau. I reckon you're going to do it.
How are you feeling?
Well, mate, me and my teams are out there and we're chipper as hell.
Yeah.
The trouble is when people look at you and say, hey, we're with you, you don't know until they tick the box.
Yeah, that's right.
And given my prescience with forecast, John, I wouldn't take any comfort
from anything that Damien Grant has to say.
But no, I reckon John will pull off Tamaki.
Yeah, I feel it's going to happen as well. Our next election podcast is Tuesday next week, and we're going weekly all the way through to the election. Thank you so much, John.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.